Hello, friends. You are now listening to I Know Nothing. My name is Marcus, and I'm here with George. And today on the podcast, we'll be talking about household energy. The I Know Nothing podcast is a progressive story. Up until recently, George and I have done nothing positive towards the environment. We do not feel associated with the climate advocates of our day, partially because they feel so far removed. However, that must not stop us. So we want to become more educated on issues surrounding the climate and hopefully show the struggle and success of our journey to help others.
Now, before we begin, we've got some corrections to make. In about number 8, single-use plastics, we gave figures relating to the number of use times different alternatives to LDP bags require before becoming more environmentally sustainable. We actually got it quite wrong in some places, or not necessarily wrong, but it was misleading. We allowed ourselves to be misled by poor reporting, and we passed it on to you, so let's quickly fix it before we go on. We've combined the information from the Danish and UK studies on this to give you a more accurate understanding. So here we go. Single-use normal bags, so the thin kind of rubbishy ones, have the lowest environmental impact just in a single use. When used 5 times, bags for life beat normal bags hands down, and the impact on acidification and ecotoxicity was a lot lower because they basically don't get shipped as far. The serious bags, those semi-rigid ones you get in Lidl with fabric handles, they have to be used 14 times to be as sustainable. And paper bags has to be used 4 times or more to match standard bags. They never really survive this long, but I guess they also don't stick around as long in the environment. However, on a grand global warming scale, they're worse as paper is pretty energy intensive to make. Cotton bags get slated pretty badly as well. The Danish study says that 149 uses is required, and the UK study has it at 173 uses. However, these bags do last a long time and they carry a lot of weight. So if you use one every day or twice a week for a year, then you'd be well on your way to it being very sustainable, and from there on out, obviously great. The summary of the report found that carrier bags were impacted mostly by resource and production, and the other factors weren't that bad. However, we felt that the study maybe ignored factors like microplastics polluting the environment in plastic bags versus paper bags. Anyway, Marcus, now we've got that out of the way, tell me about your week.
Yeah, sorry. That was probably my fault more than anything.
Both. No, definitely both of us.
Yeah, my week has been good, mate. If you've been listening, my girlfriend and I, well, that's a mistake. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for asking me how my week was, because for some reason, if you've been listening, every single time for the previous weeks, I've messed up that question. I don't know what it is, but sometimes it comes up with "How's your week been?" or something stupid. So I'm really glad that you did that. But yeah, my week has been good. My girlfriend and I went to this museum called Body Worlds in Amsterdam on the weekend, and it was pretty interesting. I don't know if you know, but Body Worlds is effectively a museum where people donate their deceased bodies to be impregnated, I think, with plastic so that they don't deteriorate. And what happens is that they get opened up, etc., and you can see all the insides of a body.
Oh God!
It was crazy, mate. I'm a little bit squeamish, but it was kind of like a car crash in the sense of you couldn't look away, even though it was like pretty gross. Especially when they showed a chopped up penis, cut up into sections.
I'd never want to see that.
Mate, I almost fainted. It was horrible to see like the tubes, all of that. Oh, mate, I know. And
take it away.
It was really funny actually. my girlfriend kept saying, "No, that's not real, surely." And I was like, "No, the whole point of this museum is that everything is real." Yeah. But it felt like, no, surely. This face that's been chopped up in half cannot be real. But it is.
So weird.
Yeah, it was really messed up. I would recommend going though, especially if you're like a budding doctor studying. Going to that was pretty amazing. How's your week been?
My week's been good, thanks. It's gone really quickly. It feels like yesterday that we recorded the last episode, which I suppose is a good thing. I played football for the first time in ages on Tuesday, which was good fun. We got absolutely battered, full 90 minutes. I think it might have been double figures. I don't know. No one was counting, let's be honest. But it was definitely over 8-0. We didn't score. It was bad game. However, good fun. And I played badminton as well, which is another random. I don't play badminton regularly. It's just out of the blue. Good fun, is there? But I'm just now hobbling and aching. I don't know why. It's just too much sudden exercise. And on top of my cycling to work, etc. So it's been quite active, and it feels like the first time I started exercising properly again for a while. So it's been a positive week in that sense.
Have you recently started cycling to work?
No, I've always cycled to work, really.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember that time when I came up to visit you at your university, UCL, and they needed a goalkeeper? And I was like, I haven't played football ever. F it, let's do it. And I didn't even go to UCL, and they put me in goalie playing against some other, university.
Yeah.
Hilarious. And you scored an own goal against me.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering what you were going to say. I think the best part is I absolutely lamped it in.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I went to clear it from the corner or the cross, whichever one it was.
Yeah, it was a cross.
And somehow ended up absolutely lashing it into the top corner. It was a great shot, just completely the wrong end.
Yeah. I actually think you won something like, worst player of the game or something like that.
Yeah. It was, whatever the phrase was. I think it's probably a nasty word.
Dick
but
of the day or something.
I think I voted for myself.
I think you did. Hilarious though, because they were like, if the ref asks, your name is like Ahmed or something. I was like, wow, that's racist. But okay.
That was shambolic. Did not get asked to play again after that.
No,
that was
really
that was my final game.
Wow. You had to hang on the boots up.
Yeah, no.
Forced.
Exactly. So let's update everyone on our challenge.
And our challenge has been going quite well. We're really excited, even if I don't seem it. In just 1 week, all of you fools out there have been flooding in with the support, and currently we've committed to planting 43 trees. So thank you for everyone that's got involved so far. As you could imagine, that's definitely more than we planned for. I think I was thinking about 10 trees max.
Yeah, so was I. It's absolutely amazing. For anyone that didn't know, our challenge for last week was to plant a tree for every 5 likes we got. So we'll be totting them up when Marcus is in the UK next month, and then we'll be in touch to show everyone the trees that they helped plant. The positive response that we've had is really just genuinely amazing. And Marcus, you've been having some really productive conversation with people that actually weren't so sure about what we were doing.
Yeah, you always get the positive and the negative. But one lady got in touch to say that she felt like it wasn't acceptable to use such a bad situation to promote ourselves, which I kind of understand. But my response to her was essentially that this isn't self-promotion. We want to learn. We want to bring some people with us, whoever wants to come. And to do that, we need to engage with listeners and grow this audience. Furthermore, our little project isn't really about the likes. It's about a group of people coming together to make a statement however small or however big. And the output of our statement is living, breathing, CO2 eating machines. And the cool thing was that once we explained that to her, she was willing to listen, and at least accepted that we meant well. And, she said that she was going to listen to the podcast next. So if she does, shout out to you for having such an open mind as well. Anyway,
Yeah.
George, I think it's time to hit our main topic. So remind us what we are getting ourselves into.
This week, we are talking about household energy. More specifically, we're going to be looking at the things we use every day, like light bulbs, fridges, and what those energy ratings actually mean. Marcus, what do you know about this topic?
Well, actually a little bit, but not crazy amounts.
Right.
I do know that we have to be as energy efficient as possible. Of course, using less energy to do required tasks means less energy that we need to make either by sustainable or unsustainable energy sources.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume ever since the conversation around being environmentally friendly started, which I think is that... Who was that person that made that documentary?
David Attenborough?
No. The Inconvenient Truth. What was that? Who's that guy?
Oh, I've got no idea, I'm afraid.
Damn. If only we were from the US. But yeah, ever since that started, at least, because I attribute that conversation to be his conversation. More and more appliances are becoming efficient in their energy usage. So I do know a little bit. What about yourself?
Fair enough. I'm weirdly excited about learning more on this topic. I really love how we get to learn more each time we do this about things that otherwise we're just allowed to coexist with us without really knowing much about them. We'd know, essentially the bare minimum that we seem to know about everything. So what do I know? I know that the energy rating system goes from A+++, I think, down to some letter later in the alphabet. And LED light bulbs are better than incandescent bulbs. And that phantom power drain, where you leave appliances plugged in with the switch on but the appliance off, is a thing and an issue.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that the rating goes to F. I mean, F stands for fail, right? And I really hope that the people deciding on the alphabet for this energy consumption has decided to go with F and not something else, because otherwise I'm going to lose my mind. Who uses another alphabet letter for failure? Who does that? But we will see. And hopefully I don't get too frustrated. But speaking of light bulbs, I've never had an LED light bulb, but I do remember growing up and changing from the normal bulbs to the eco ones, and they were absolutely crap, mate. I might as well have used candle lights to, light up my room, because everything looked yellow, everything was dark. I'm actually attributing my poor eyesight to the fact that I had to strain to see anything in my room. But I assume that they've gotten better, or that people are using LEDs now.
Yeah, I think they've definitely got a lot better, haven't they? I do know what you mean, especially those ones that would take ages to warm up. And so initially it was like there was barely any light, and then eventually you would notice or realise that actually you were in a fairly well lit room, but it'd just take a while before that happened.
I used to get so frustrated, the fact that we had these eco lights. It was just so frustrating. And P.S., the guy was called Al Gore. He was the one.
Yes.
He was the one who started climate change.
How did we forget that, man?
I'm pretty confident he was the one who started it.
I feel like it was probably started before that, but
for sure.
I feel like he was an important guy in making people more aware of it.
Yeah, which
I mean, we've discussed before that I think in the 1970s the Shell or one of the oil company scientists discovered that basically burning oil was bad for the environment. So it's been around a while.
I still feel like he invented it, mate.
he's the godfather.
Yeah.
So that's not what we know before starting. Let's share what we found out with a few days of research.
So I think a cool place to start is a bit of background in household energy consumption. The type of house that you live in has a massive difference. Mid-terrace houses, for example, use on average 43% less energy than detached houses. This, of course, somewhat skewed by detached houses being larger, but still, if you're a mid-terraced, you're doing well. Adding to that, cooling appliances like fridges and freezers use the most energy in the average household, closely followed by lighting.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd never thought about the fact that, I suppose it makes sense, doesn't it, that a mid-terrace house would use less energy because you've got to heat. Well, you're gaining some heat from the surrounding houses, and also you're losing less heat because they're already at the same temperature, or hopefully. So I'd never thought about that, but actually, I imagine energy heating costs of mid-terrace houses must be way less.
Yeah, and maybe, just a thought, that because they're smaller, it costs less to insulate. And so the insulation on mid-terrace houses might be better as well compared to detached houses on the whole.
What, because you've only got to insulate like the roof and,
Yeah,
and 2 walls? Maybe, yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess also, well, they're probably the same regulations. I was thinking maybe if standalone houses they're not like the big developments that a terrace house would be. So maybe you get away with more with a single development, but that's probably not true. They're probably all the same.
It's crazy though, 43% less.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah, that's actually so much.
You know, that is a crazy number, right? We've researched
maybe
it.
that I feel like that must be heating energy.
Surely.
Do you not think? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it
can't be
43%.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
So I wanted to explain that the energy rating system that we've had a stab at earlier on in the podcast, and the one I'm talking about is the multicolored one with a letter. It's kind of like almost a cascading chart, and that always confuses me. But it's actually an EU energy rating system. So sorry, Grandma. And suppliers have
Why sorry, Grandma? Why sorry, Grandma?
Because, like, Grandma probably hates the fact that it's an EU energy rating system. She's just now turned off from this podcast. She's not interested anymore. She was about to go and learn about energy ratings, but no, it's the EU now. And my grandma hates the EU.
Oh, okay. Pro-Brexit, right? Okay.
Yeah. So
sorry for that tangent.
That's all right.
I just really wanted to know why I said sorry, Grandma.
So suppliers have to provide the rating by law. So if you buy something without one, then have a word, I guess. The scale goes from A, which is the most efficient, to G, so not F, sadly.
Mate, that fucks me up so much.
Yeah, I know. They missed it by one letter as well.
Who buys anything that's a G?
Yeah.
You must be that appliance must be seriously bad for it to be.
Surely
not
they're
even be
illegal
F.
now. Surely they're illegal now. Like, can you produce G's these days?
That's basically, you've put a hammer and some nails together and you said, "Oh, I hope that's an appliance."
What? Just run a current through it? Just like,
That's effectively like no wiring, insulation, no nothing. Everything's just
terrible.
Waste energy. Crazy.
Yeah. But on top of the A, and this, I find this is a strange system, but it can actually be A+ to A+++ when most of the appliances in that category achieve an A grade. I guess lots of appliances have improved because that grade was changing consumer perception, and they were buying the better ones, and then suddenly they realised that actually, rather than knocking everyone back down, they had to add up. They had to increase the length of the scale. But apparently, because it's confusing, it's being phased out over the next couple of years. So Only you need to worry about that, hey Marcus.
Well, because it's EU.
Yes.
That's so important, mate. Your Project Fear.
Oh.
What I would say to that is such a ridiculous alphabet to start at A+++ to then G.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
There are 20 what? Shit. How many letters in the alphabet? 26? 24?
Hopefully.
25?
Last time I checked, there was 26.
Oh, wow. So many numbers going through my head. I'm an engineer, you know, just so everyone knows that.
Just remind everyone that.
But again, I guess what I would also add to that though is that it is a simple concept. Even though it sounds confusing in terms of A++, the fact that you have just a quick, easy, almost a pictogram to see how energy efficient you are, that's pretty good. Do you know what your least efficient appliance is, George?
No, actually, I've got no idea. I suppose every appliance in the house is kind of set as it was here when I arrived. Or it was here when I arrived. I do have a suspicion that the fridge is a bit archaic. It sounds like it's running off of steam. And we got a microwave recently for free off of, I guess, Free Cycle Gumtree or something. And that thing is just a behemoth. It's massive, and it looks like it's from the last century. I think it actually might be from the last century. Not gonna lie, it's old. It's old enough that the plastic has gone from white and it's now sort of yellow.
I've got
plastic.
the same. I've got the same. It looks so retro, Art Deco almost. It's crazy.
Yeah. What about you?
It was well. I'll tell you in a second, but
okay.
Last year of uni, one of my friends got a free microwave from his grandmother, like in the shed type situation, and he brings it into the house and is like, "Oh guys, we got a microwave, but just to warn you, when you're microwaving something, don't stand too close to it because apparently it radiates energy." And I was like, "Mate, that is crazy. However, thank you very much for bringing a microwave into the flat."
I love that. Don't stand too close. They might fry your balls.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of my least energy efficient appliance, firstly, my fridge is an A appliance because that's posted on the door. But if we're talking a bit more than just electrical energy, my heating is probably the least energy efficient. That thing coughs and sputters like it's been smoking 20 a day for its whole life.
Really?
Yeah, you turn it on and it goes...
Oh.
Crazy.
That's a good smoker impression.
Yeah, well... to overcome fear, you must become fear, right?
Sure.
Mate, I love that reference so much that I try and use it as much as I can in scenarios that you probably cannot use because it encompasses so much.
Yeah,
it makes you sound a lot deeper as well. Than you probably are.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So, one thing I did look at is the usage of appliances on standby mode, as that's commonly brought up. I found that it's not as much of an issue anymore since the study came out saying that it was bad. This is due to innovation in a lot of categories you spoke of earlier in the ratings. So I did some further research and I went down a little rabbit hole of looking at TVs because often TVs are put on standby mode. And if you go into like Samsung's website, you can see that the most clicked TV, which I assume is the most bought TV, is the 65-inch 4K TV. Not sponsored. By other TVs too. And the standby power usage for that TV equates to 0.5 watts. which sounds low because it is low. Now, if you say that it's on standby all day, all year, that equates to 4.38 kilowatt hours, which is interesting on its own. But if you also compare that to what Ofgem say about the average UK household, and the average UK household uses 3,700 kilowatts in a year, then a TV on standby will only use 0.12%. Crazy, right? Now, the aim of that isn't to say keep everything plugged in, don't care about anything, but it is to say just because you're unplugging items doesn't mean you're making a huge difference in your household. Energy usage. Look towards an efficient appliance rating the next time you're in the market to buy, as this will do the most energy saving compared to unplugging the appliance.
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay. Well,
I don't like your hesitation.
I'm still gonna stick with what I've said before, and I've done a little bit more research so that I can maybe try and combat you on the facts.
I've done the most research.
Oh, right. So let's start with your example, and I feel like maybe that's kind of cherry picked data. A 65-inch 4K Samsung TV, the most efficient and modern appliance, of which I'm going to assume the majority of people don't have. Like, I don't know anyone with a 65-inch Samsung TV. Now, a number of studies have found that phantom energy is 3 to 10% of household energy usage. Now, this is getting better as people upgrade, but it isn't quite there. In terms of people, it's still an issue that people are upgrading, but there's still energy and savings to be made. I believe that you can make a difference when adding up all those appliances. But having said that, it would be a real effort to actually unplug everything at all the time. So buying an appliance with a lower standby drain if you can, like you say, or / just a better energy consumption overall, is probably better. However, when going on holiday, I feel like it's a no-brainer.
And I assume, just to clarify, phantom energy is standby mode, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it's just generally it's appliances on average standby plus, turned off but still plugged into the wall.
Okay. Now, George, I get what you're saying. It's pretty specific of me. But if you do a little bit more research, which I did, I went on to Amazon.com, and I just went on the electrical category. And the first thing that comes up as a bestseller is a HP printer. Now, I looked at that as well, and on standby, that only used 2.83 watts, which still, again, only adds up to 0.7% of an average UK household if left all day and all year. So, again, that goes back to, it's not that specific. All these modern appliances are using almost 1% of your UK household energy.
Okay, but then now, so let's go with sort of the best case. Maybe there's some lower than that as well, than the 0.5 watts TV.
Mm-hmm.
But put that across every appliance. So let's say there's 30 of them in the house, and they're only 0.5 watts. So I can't remember, 2.83 kilowatts or whatever you said, or 4.83 kilowatt hours. Sorry. So if you've got 30 of them, that results in 3.6% of household energy, and that's you've got a tight house there environmentally. Now, if we average that out with your HP printer example and Samsung, so we take the two numbers and we take the average of them. So what that must come out, I don't know what that comes out to anymore, but I've run the numbers, I promise. Then each appliance comes out at 0.4% of household energy. That adds up to 12% of household energy usage. 12%. The numbers, I think, are compelling.
There's two ways I can come back with that, I think. Firstly, you just said that no one has a 65-inch 4K TV, and now you're saying if you have 30 of them, which is a ridiculous argument.
That is not what I'm saying.
Right?
That is such a I'm saying that if all your appliances are as incredibly
Who has
efficient
30
as
appliances?
Everyone.
I don't, maybe. No, but I will go for the middle road, I think. I do understand what you're saying, and it does all add up. But what I'm trying to say is when you consider the comparison of a typical household's old washing machine, for example, to unplugging sockets to save energy, you turning off the plug won't do much difference.
So you feel like 10% of household energy is insignificant?
Well, no. But what I am saying is that the rest of the 90% is the 30 items being used. I would be able to reduce my total energy usage by buying a A+++ appliance more than that 10% saving. I'm not saying it's insignificant as such, but what I am saying is that buying an efficient item will impact your annual energy use more than just unplugging alone.
Yeah, okay, I agree with what you've said at the end there, but with the proviso, I guess, that if you can't spend the money on super efficient items or just want to make or start making a difference irrelevant of your budget today, then you can start doing so right now, or you can do so when you go away next time for a couple of days or a week. Maybe you don't use your TV that much, only at weekends. You know you never use it during the day or during the week even. So then you could leave that turned off, and that's 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year.
Yeah, and I think this is where we both agree. I think it's a better habit to turn off the things that you don't need. Our consumption for consumption's sake is a massive problem, and to tackle that is the key to all of this conversation. Excess is crazy right now. I think we consume way too much for the sake of consumption itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I think neither of us are going to try and sit here and say, oh, you should turn off every appliance in your house every evening and every time you go out to work, because let's be honest, it's unreasonable, isn't it? You and I aren't going to do that.
No.
But when you go on holiday, you can make a bit of a difference. And even if if you go on holiday for, well, I don't want to make assumptions about how much holiday people get, but if you cumulatively end up being away from your home for a month a year, let's say, including weekends, etc., then that's still, let's say it is 12%, you're still saving 1% of your energy bill, and 1%. And if everyone saves 1%, that's still a step, isn't it? It's still an improvement.
Very true.
Yeah. So
here at I Know Nothing, we like sharing some news that is positive but also negative. We have to balance the news because otherwise it can get pretty depressing, and we think that that's a major reason of why people don't act. So, George, start us off with the good.
Yeah, so firstly, shout out to Greta Thunberg. I don't know if that's how you say her name, but I went for it. She that's not impressed. Look from Marcus there, so unimpressed. She's just completed her 2-week-long voyage across the Atlantic to avoid flying, and I think that's pretty inspiring in my eyes. That's what you've said previously, that you felt like it wasn't quite the case because the boat was difficult to make.
No, and
unsustainable to make.
And you convinced me otherwise with that argument. I was wrong in that argument. I think what I was kind of saying with that is that it's crazy the amount of wastage these type of racing boats make. Yeah. And to put that as the holy grail in terms of travel across Europe to America.
Like if everyone did that.
Exactly. but it is probably more efficient and sustainable than using flight. I mean, using airplanes.
Yeah, if you're a bird, it's fine. Crack on.
Mate, to be honest, I don't know why I not dislike her. I don't have any feelings towards her. But we're going somewhere. I don't know why I just don't feel associated with her. I don't know what it is. Again, I feel like it's probably more me than her, or that movement. But I struggle with that, to be honest.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, fair play to her. She's giving a voice to a lot of people who don't have a voice, and she's putting it up in the news, and it is getting more media coverage with her at being a figurehead, I guess.
Yeah, well, and talking of news coverage, 170 news outlets have signed up for the Covering Climate Now, I guess, movement, if you want to call it that. It's a week long, starting on the 16th of September and ending on the 23rd, which happens to be the UN Climate Action Summit in New York, where they're going to be continuing the narrative on the Paris Climate Agreement, which we discussed in episode 7. So some of the... This actually is basically Covering Climate Now is all these news groups and publications agreeing to basically put the climate on blast and make sure everyone hears about it. So the main bulk of their content is going to be on the climate. So The Guardian, Bloomberg, and BuzzFeed are probably the one amongst the ones that you've heard of.
Firstly, I just want to say that was an amazing transition. Secondly,
thanks.
Yeah. Secondly, I just can't believe I ganged on the internet.
I wonder what I thought you were looking sort of ashamedly at me, but
I was so ashamed of what I just did.
Yeah,
I think I did the West Side.
Oh no!
Yeah, I did it all. Oh. Hopefully, the camera doesn't catch that. But now we've just spoke about it, and now I'm highlighting the fact that I did that.
So everyone's just rewinded anyway.
Yeah. I grew up in the streets.
Oh, don't make it worse.
No, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm nervous.
Okay.
So, the bad news for this week is scientists have predicted up to 12 million. Mate, it's silly goose time. We've gone off the rails.
Love it.
12 Vietnamese people. No, 12 million Vietnamese people could be displaced by rising. This isn't
you
funny.
You can do
George.
it.
This isn't funny.
You can do
it. Scientists have predicted that up to 12 million Vietnamese people could be displaced by rising waters in the Mekong Delta if climate change continues at the current rate.
In fairness, although we're laughing, I promise we're not laughing at this fact because it is quite bad.
No, that is quite bad.
This is entirely us laughing at ourselves and our presenting skills or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's actually quite scary.
You've been to the Mekong Delta, yeah?
Yeah, I considered for a little bit trying to kayak down it until we got told by multiple locals that we'd die.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one place I didn't get to go see when I went to Vietnam.
Yeah, big old river.
Yeah?
Well, I suppose the delta's sort of the lots of rivers, I guess, or tributaries, or the opposite, whatever they are. I suppose deltas. But yeah, it was part of it, I guess.
Does that kind of news hit home a little bit more because you've been to that place?
Maybe, yeah, because you think about, I mean, you've been to Vietnam as well, and I suppose you think about the people. You're slightly less detached, aren't you, when you've been somewhere? I'm not saying that really I understand the plights of the Vietnamese people, although I am currently reading a book it's called Matterhorn, about the Vietnam War from an American, I think, I want to say a platoon sort of levels perspective, and awful stuff. Does not sound that fun, actually. But yeah. Anyway, company in focus, Marcus.
So, let me tell you something. We have already told you about that one comment on our post calling it a cheap marketing ploy. Now, I do understand, like I said, where this person is coming from. But let me ask you this question, and it's rhetorical, George, so don't answer.
Okay.
If we cannot encourage businesses to make money by being environmentally friendly, then won't these big bad businesses continue to do the wrong thing? Actually, I do want to answer. That's a yes, right?
I'll tell you, I was so glad. I almost said yes because I
Right.
was so compelled to say yes. Yeah. Agreed.
So, here at I Know Nothing, we believe in celebrating companies that care for the environment. So, this week's company in focus is Olio. And Olio is a simple yet effective concept. This app allows communities, businesses, and shops to share their food to reduce food waste. Currently, they have 2,140,000 portions of food saved and 320 million litres of water saved as well. And I assume they've got those figures from average amount of water used to make a food item. So this just goes to show how amazing it is to utilize technology in a beneficial and social way. And of course, it is more than just an app, but to anyone listening, it only takes one idea to help change the world. It may only take one app to save the world. And I know that sounds so ridiculous, but it's the little things that add up to become a bigger change.
Yeah, completely agree. What a nice way of putting it, actually. And I actually, one of my flatmates uses Olio, however you pronounce it, and he gets so much from it. People are so generous.
Really?
Yeah, and it's all stuff that would otherwise just go in a bin. This isn't scrounging. It's not sort of, I don't know. It's great. It's really, really a wonderful sort of community that's part of it, as far as I know. I did download the app. Don't think I ever picked anything up, but yeah, it's fantastic. He gets all sorts, sushi, bread, everything.
Now, here's a question. Why did you not pick anything up? Was that due to fear, you think, or?
I think it was genuinely, well, two things. Laziness, probably.
Yeah.
If we're being honest. But then also just fussiness.
Yeah, okay.
It not being what I wanted to eat for dinner that night. And so therefore I didn't bother, even though I'm sure I could have used it. So yeah. I think I think I'm going to give it a go again.
I think it's not going to be this challenge for this week, but 1 week in the future, we should challenge ourselves to at least just to have one meal from Olio.
Hey, you know what? I know we sort of agreed to carry on the challenge that from last week, but I think we're going to do that anyway. Let's be honest. It's people are enjoying it, and it's engaging people, and I feel like we're building the community through that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's add that this is the sort of the overarching challenge of the episode, even though the current long-term challenge is the planting of trees. So yeah, well, let's both see what we can get from Olio.
Okay.
One meal each.
Okay. So
Cool.
just to reiterate what the challenge was last week, if you haven't listened to that podcast, and I do recommend listening to that podcast, but the challenge last week was for every 5 likes on our Instagram, we would plant a tree. And that's how we've come to 43 trees being planted. Thank you to George allowing us to use his farm space, I assume.
Well, it's not really a farm, it's just a field, I guess. But,
well, thank you. And so, that is going to carry on until I go to the UK again. And hopefully, we get a mini forest planted.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to tell my parents that we plan to plant a small forest in their field. So maybe we'll just have to go for a walk and plant a tree every couple of fields. I don't own those fields. That'll just be, or my parents don't. I don't own any fields, sadly. But to be honest, however, I don't think anyone will notice a tree. No, I don't think If you plant a tree in someone's back garden, they might be pissed off. But
This is a bigger question that I have. Is it illegal just to randomly plant trees?
I don't know. I mean, is it illegal to just drop seeds? I know we're going to get
Also
saplings and
a
do
good
proper
question.
trees, but yeah.
Also a valid question. Well, we'll find out, I guess, one day. But the challenge, I guess, then this week is to get a food item, a meal from Olio. And hopefully, where I live, it works.
Exactly. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, or you just feel like you want to make a quick little difference, then you can like us, or like the image that we've spoken about. It's basically a little sapling and it says, like to plant a tree. Kind of hacky, we admit it. But yeah, on our Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I suppose not on YouTube, but but are we counting YouTube or not?
I think our YouTube doesn't get very many likes, so if we even said 1 like equals 1 tree, that'd be outrageous.
Oh wow!
But also quite dangerous. 2 likes equals 1 tree. 2.
No, we'll keep it at 5.
Okay, 5. Yeah,
let's just keep it simple.
Yeah.
And on top of that, although I don't think anyone's done it, and fair enough, but the a review we did agree equaled a tree. So literally, you can write a quick little review, positive or negative, and there you go. You plant a tree. We are genuinely going to do this. It's not some, I don't know, hacky little lie. It's really it's just, I think, a nice thing to do as a sort of a part of the community, you know.
And I feel like it's worth reiterating as well that, you know, we were probably going to do something like this anyway. This isn't just some hacky marketing ploy.
It's really just to engage people in what we're doing.
Yeah,
I suppose.
If we're being honest, we want to grow our audience to hopefully reach more people that come along with us on our journey and learn something, and hopefully we become an example, even though we have our own flaws, and help others too. Is that selfish in us wanting to get more of an audience? I don't know, but that's our intention, at least.
Yeah. Well, if you want to get involved with any of that, then you can find us at I Know Diddley on any of the normal platforms, or you can visit our website, iknownothingpodcast.com.
Wicked. Ciao.
Awesome. Ciao, mate.
Mate, love you long time.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.